Because politics can sometimes be overwhelming or frankly boring, Adam and I decided to get together and talk about the candidates running for Arizona governor. And this might be one of the most boring videos we have ever put together, but it's supposed to just be information so you can understand who you're voting for come Tuesday.
I'm already sleeping, actually. I'm already asleep.
So this is for the governor's race. Now, what happened was azvoterguide.com puts together kind of a comprehensive list to help educate, but it's pretty boring to read through. And
it's really like long.
Yeah.
And you don't need, I don't think you need all that information, especially from one source. So what I would say is, while we got this from this third party, use your discretion. Definitely look into the different issues that we're going to mention here. We're basically going to go through and just hit the bullet points, because what they do, right, is they reach out to the candidates, they give the candidates opportunities to respond to these specific questions or issues that are kind of hot button issues in politics.
And basically the candidates are given an opportunity to respond. Sometimes they don't. And in an event that they don't respond, what they end up doing is kind of filling in their best guess with what the candidate would likely say based on previous statements. So they claim to be unbiased, but always use your discretion when who knows, right? So this first topic is allowing all parents to use tax credits, vouchers, or education savings accounts to enable children to attend any public, charter, private, homeschool, or online academy. So who supports that? Well, the people running for governor. John Lewis Mueller, he's for the Americans Elect Party.
Sounds like a powerful party, I know.
Yeah. Who are they?
Yeah.
Barry J. Hess, he's a libertarian. And Doug Ducey, who's a Republican. Or douchey, if you like to say it that way.
Some people do. Jeremy.
And who opposes this? Well, that'd be Fred DuVal, who's a Democrat, and he's the only one who opposes it. Out of this group.
Out of this particular group. He opposes, so these are education vouchers. It's become more and more popular to talk about recently. All that means is, instead of the money you pay in taxes going to the school that you're assigned to in your district, it would go to the parent instead, and the parent would decide what school the child could get into, depending on whether or not that school is full or if they can take on more students. So
definitely more of a conservative kind of issue. It seems to lean that way, which kind of is outlined here. All right. Changes to the World Wide Web that would make pornography available online only as an opt-in service. So I've not heard about this issue, but apparently this is a thing people are trying to advocate for. So let's see who's
opt-in service. Like
yeah,
you would have to actually sign up for the section of the internet that had pornography.
That's what it sounds like to me. So you couldn't stumble across pornography unless you specifically chose to go out of your way to go find it.
You know, it was the first time that ever happened to me. I was pretty young, and I had my dad, I think, in the room. We were looking stuff up about the president of the United States back when the internet first came out, and it was dial-up, and I typed in whitehouse.gov.
But wait, you typed in Whitehouse.
Or whitehouse.com. Yeah, whitehouse.com, and stumbled upon it. I would have preferred to opt out of that opportunity sitting there with my dad.
But this is kind of an interesting thing, because this is kind of more rules, more regulations over the internet, and kind of sectioning things off, making things not allowed.
Not available.
So John Lewis Mueller, he supports this, and Doug Ducey. The people who oppose it, nobody. No one else cared to chime in on that
Really?
hot button issue.
I'm surprised by that, because there's a lot going around about net neutrality. You know what I mean? And making sure that government is not out there suppressing the freedom of the internet, right? So I'm interested if there's a big constituency that would support that, and maybe you do, or oppose it.
It's probably a political maneuver. I can't imagine a lot of people care about this, so they're probably rather than weigh in and maybe offend somebody, I'm not gonna say anything.
Right.
And then no one will know what it is.
It is kind of a lose-lose, because it's either you're against pornography but for regulation, or you're not for regulation, right, which is good, but you're pro-pornography, which in Arizona isn't good.
No.
So
next one, implement Common Core as the basis for Arizona's educational curriculum.
Hot button issue.
Very hot button issue. So Fred DuVal supports that. Uh-oh. He's got no one else on his side. John Lewis Mueller and Barry J. Hess and Doug Ducey all oppose implementing Common Core.
Which, if you don't know what Common Core is, just Google it. There's so much out there. It's basically in the bailout, federal government give some money to the states, mandating the states use the money for education. And then later, after that happened, they implemented the Common Core standards. Look it up. There's a lot of information out there about it.
Yeah. This next issue, so prohibit abortion except when it is necessary to prevent the death of the mother. So these people would prohibit abortion except when it is necessary to prevent the death of the mother, and that's John Lewis Mueller and Doug Ducey. The people who oppose it, Fred DuVal, and that's it. So pretty, conservative people tend to want to limit the amount of abortions available, and liberals tend to think that they should be available to anyone. So kind of by the books on that one.
Yeah, it's pretty party line on that one.
Yeah, nothing surprising. Allow slot machines and table games off Indian reservations. So this one was kind of interesting because, gambling, it's like kind of a social stigma, not like necessarily like a great thing, but
I think it's pulled itself away, considering there's an entire U.S. city, 2 of them in one state, that pretty much thrive off of gambling. But this is actually a big hot button issue in Arizona, because right now Glendale, the city of Glendale, is actually fighting with the Indian reservation about property that they own in Glendale that they want to build a casino on. That's right next to like the Cardinals Arena where the Super Bowl is going to be this year. So it is kind of a big issue right now.
Well, let's see who's for gambling outside of Indian reservations. That would be John Lewis Mueller. And nobody else.
Nobody would chime in on that?
Nobody else. Let's see. Doug Ducey opposes it. And I think that's it. Yep. Just them two. No one else decided to weigh in. No one else had an opinion. But that was kind of an interesting split right there.
It is interesting, too, because as a Republican, usually like less regulation, but he's actually going for more regulation, which slot machines, it's a business. It could stimulate big economy, bring more revenue in.
But it's one of those moral issues that Republicans who claim they're conservative end up getting tied up in.
Right. Interesting.
It's always messy.
Okay.
Government granting unmarried domestic partnerships the same employee and health benefits as married couples.
Okay.
John Lewis Mueller supports that. So basically kind of a pro-gay stance, I guess, is the easiest way to boil it down. But it's unmarried domestic partnerships, so it doesn't even have to necessarily be...
Would there be like a process, like a civil union type process, like a contract domestic partnership, or?
I think basically the question is a nice PC way to get around to like making people look either pro-gay or anti-gay.
Yeah, you're probably.
It's kind of way the question reads to me.
Right.
And Fred DuVal also supports that, and who opposes it? Doug Ducey.
Right.
So
come on. That's one issue.
Again.
Me personally, that's one issue I would have liked to see.
But again, it's the moral issues, and the Republicans are always like, "Oh, we've got to, regulate more around." I know.
And the thing is it's unmarried domestic partnerships. It is like not a marriage license. It's not a civil union. It's just people who want to live together.
Right.
So who cares? Anyway.
Well, and I like
me.
Extending the health benefits as married couples. I think we've talked in the past many times about a lot of those benefits should just.
But here's the thing, the private sector has remedied a lot of these issues. If you show a domestic partnership for a certain amount of time, I think it's like some companies, it's like 2 years, you can apply with the company and they will allow you to extend your benefits, your family benefits to that partner. So there are private companies that offer that in health insurance. I'm 99.9% sure. I'm not an HR specialist.
I haven't heard of that, but it's
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's like after a certain amount of time, you prove that you've been together for that time, and then they put you under that umbrella.
The next one: mandatory state requirement that Arizona public schools teach comprehensive sex education. So a state mandate that basically says, hey, you got to teach comprehensive sex immigration.
Sex immigration.
Sex immigration.
Whoa.
Sex education. So who's for that? Nobody. Who opposes it? John Lewis Mueller, Barry J. Hess, and Doug Ducey.
So wait, I would have to say this. This is what I've noticed. When it's a sensitive issue, like pretty sensitive. So like the last one, this one, you're looking at like people who could get pretty upset about it on both sides of the aisle. Do you notice that whenever that is, when it favors the opinion of the left comes up, but then the right doesn't? They just say, I'm not going to say anything. But then opposite, it's the opposite. You would think that DuVal would be on here.
You would think?
Supporting that, but that may hurt him. So I would almost, just me, anytime that somebody's not up there, put them in the column that's empty. Because they're just making a political statement in itself.
I see what you're saying.
To not act is to act, sir.
Well, I like this because besides DuVal, all these guys have said, hey, we don't want a state mandate, which is fine by me.
Let parents figure it out.
Legalize physician-assisted suicide.
Interesting. This has been a social media issue lately with the woman. Where is she from? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
But she said, I have this illness. I will kill myself.
On this date.
On this specific date.
But she came out today, actually,
that she wouldn't.
Saying that she's like, I'm going to postpone it. So I still want to do it, but I'm not sure when.
I wonder if she's like,
I don't know.
Like, we want to interview you. We want to do a book about you or a movie about you. And all of a sudden being alive ain't so bad. It's interesting.
I don't want to chime in on that. It's her life. She can do what she wants. So who supports legalizing physician-assisted suicide? Barry J. Hess, a libertarian.
Makes
Pretty libertarian point of view there. He's the only one. And we've got John Lewis Mueller who opposes it, and Doug Ducey. Again, kind of one of those moral issues that, people shouldn't be allowed to do what they want. But we've covered this one in the past, and it is a tricky subject.
It is and it's sensitive, very sensitive subject.
Arizona's voter-approved constitutional definition of marriage should be defended to the fullest extent legally possible. So when Arizona defined marriage as between one man and one woman, this is basically saying that that's what marriage should be defined as, and we should defend that. Who supports it? Doug Ducey. Who opposes it? John Lewis Mueller, who on the past couple ones has been siding with Ducey, but they have disagreed a couple times. And that's it.
Nobody else.
No one else decided to chime in.
I wonder why. So here's the sad part about this situation, is Republicans in Arizona, a lot of them are very socially conservative. So while they want limited government, when it appeases them, they want strong government, which is unfortunate. That's why you're seeing this, because there's a lot of those voters. But because there's so many of those voters, that's why DuVal's not on here.
Right.
So it's,
it's a
we've talked about
issue.
It on the podcast. Check out 3headedeagle.com if you haven't. Check out our podcast where we talk about what we think about how we should best get equality between straight couples and gay couples. I
think we've talked about pretty much every one of these issues, and we've given our opinions on them.
Yeah.
And which is more than some of the people who failed to respond.
Don't even show up.
It's like, how do you expect people to vote when it's like you're not even giving them any information to go on? It's like, just vote for me because of my name.
I know.
Or the D or R next to my name.
Sign, whether or not there's signs on the corner of your street.
This next one, change Arizona's judicial selection process so the governor appoints and the Senate confirms judges.
Do you know the current process?
I don't.
I don't know either, actually, which is sad. Sorry, guys, but hey, we'll bring that up in the next video or podcast that we work on.
It seems like a very procedural one, and I don't know how it's done now. So just to think through it, so judicial selection process, so the governor appoints and the Senate confirms judges. That's very similar to the Supreme Court, right? I think so. Yeah.
So it's the same process. How would Arizona's be different?
I don't know. I have to look into it. We're totally ignorant on the subject, so.
It's kind of sad.
Barry J. Hess, the libertarian, he supports this. So says, that's a good idea. Doug Ducey says it's a good idea. Who says it's a bad idea? John Lewis Mueller. He thinks it should say the same.
So I wonder if they just get simply appointed.
That could be. There's no confirmation.
But it's funny, because I wonder if these guys would support it if they actually won.
I don't know. Let's move on, because I feel like we don't know enough to talk adequately about that.
If only Jeremy was here.
Yeah, Jeremy. He would be valuable on that one.
And he would be making fun of us.
This next topic, so add sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression to the protected classes of race, religion, age, sex, and ancestry in anti-discrimination law. Again, another issue we've talked about numerous times. Always listen to the podcast to find our opinions on these things. Who supports this? That would be John Lewis Mueller, so to protect those classes, and Fred DuVal. Who opposes it? Doug Ducey. You know who didn't weigh in was Barry, the libertarian Barry Hess. But kind of an interesting split, again, between Mueller and Ducey.
Yeah, this John Mueller, he's an interesting candidate.
It's not going, Americans elect kind of one of those middle of the road parties, whereas, independent or kind of libertarian in some cases. It's funny how often, though, the R and the D go exactly where you would expect them to go.
Yeah.
It's like nothing,
for sure.
Nothing shocking. All right, next one, regulating rideshare services such as Uber and Lyft in the same manner that taxi and limo services are regulated. Again, we've talked about this.
Talked about this one.
So John Lewis Mueller says that we should regulate these services the same way we regulate taxis. And Barry J. Hess, the libertarian, says we should not regulate them.
Well, I would venture to say if he's as libertarian as he's turning out to be in this whole situation, he would also deregulate the taxi and limo services.
And Doug Ducey opposes this as well, which, interesting divide there.
Yeah.
Legalize marijuana for recreational use.
Yes.
Follow in Colorado. Who supports this? John Lewis Mueller. Okay.
Quite libertarian of him.
Barry J. Hess, libertarian, right where you
That
expect him to
makes
be. Uh-oh. Doug Ducey.
Shocking? No.
No, but again, it's like...
But that's the thing.
Republicans are not conservative.
Right. They're just
not.
a different set of big government.
Right.
If you had a total agreement between and compromise between the Democrats and the Republicans, you would just have big government in every arena of your life rather than most of them.
Yeah.
The more they fight, the slower the process to tyranny is.
But it's like this, proof right here.
Yeah. And I'm not even like a pro drug. I mean, I'm like clean as a whistle. I don't even drink alcohol. But it's just interesting because you have to really start to question, like, that's regulation.
Yeah, it is.
Prohibition.
Taxpayer dollars subsidizing paid time off for public employees to engage in union activities. Whoa.
We haven't talked about that.
We have not talked about
We
it.
should, because I got some opinions on that one.
So, what do you think? Who's going to pop up here?
Okay.
Who supports this?
DuVal does.
Let's see.
Party line.
Nope.
What? See? I bet he does, though, because Arizona's a right-to-work state. And to say that you want, one, you want unions, and two, you want to use tax money to subsidize them going to retreats would be very bad because Arizona's a very pro free market state.
So you think DuVal didn't weigh in at all?
Oh, dude, if he weighed in, then he's definitely playing to the Arizona population.
We'll see. John Lewis Mueller opposes it. Barry J. Hess opposes it.
Makes sense.
And Doug Ducey opposes it.
Aha!
DuVal, he did not weigh in on this one.
Which means, in my theory,
He's right there on the supporting side.
but
He's
we're right to work
invisible.
state. It should be irrelevant. Yeah. There's virtually no unionization here.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, topic, like opinion. Like, what do you think? Apparently DuVal doesn't think anything, or he's too scared to admit it.
That's probably it.
Yeah. Protecting individuals and businesses from being required to provide services or use their artistic expression in a manner that violates their moral or religious beliefs.
So should we call this the wedding cake issue?
Right,
Yeah.
which we've talked about. Basically, people should have the right to follow their own moral or religious beliefs, and they shouldn't be compelled to do otherwise in a business setting.
Whether it's for profit or not.
So this would protect those individuals and their rights. So who supports that? John Lewis Mueller, Barry J. Hess, Doug Ducey.
I could have told you.
Who opposes it?
Of course he does.
Fred DuVal.
Because his major base, his really strong base would be probably your LGBT community, which there's actually a pretty strong and healthy LGBT community in Arizona and Phoenix.
This is such a huge issue, and it's only going to get more volatile.
Yeah, it will.
More and more. Well, that's all the questions or the topics that we have. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was informative, got some extra information to help you on voting day. And I had a good time. I feel a little bit more enlightened.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to check out the full guide, you can go to azvoterguide.com and you can find it there. It's got everyone for all the districts and everyone in Arizona. So check it out. And as always, make up your own mind. Don't just listen to us or what these guys have to say. You are the best person to kind of make up your own mind and figure stuff out on your own.
Definitely. And if you want more information and fun and entertaining content, go to 3headedeagle.com. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. See ya.
See you guys.